I'm kind of nervous.
Me too.
We've recorded 256 episodes of the Untoxicated podcast, but that's all audio. And now I feel weird in front of the video.
Yeah.
You look great, by the way.
Oh, thanks. I did put makeup on for
Yeah.
everybody else, not you.
Yeah.
A little bit of makeup, but.
So there's probably a lot of people that have never seen us before. And
Surprise! Here we are!
I know. I wonder, I've been going for years now for an Italian race car driver, and I think what I've actually landed on is drunken lumberjack.
Our kids.
But it's a look.
Some of our kids, it's a look. Some of our kids do say, why does Dad look more like an alcoholic now that he's not drinking? Well, the true him is coming out. And he's comfortable with who he is.
Yeah.
There's no more to hide.
There. Oh,
yeah.
I'm less nervous now.
Okay.
That's good. All you gotta do is tease me a little.
Yeah.
We're winding up vacation season here in the second half, the back nine of the summer. And we've had some conversations recently about vacation season. And I thought it'd be fun to sit in front of a camera and talk about it too.
Yeah.
Yeah. You some time ago changed the term. Like, you don't call what we do vacation anymore. You call them trips, right? Or not even adventures, visits.
Visits,
Yeah.
yes.
Why did you change that?
Well, because Matt and I owned a bakery for 15 years, and we also moved away from my family. You had always lived after, in college, lived away from your family. So my family's all still very local to our hometown, and no one goes that far. So we decided that we were going to spend all the free time taking the grandchildren, to go see our families. And so our 2 times a year that we were away from the bakery with the kids were 1 week with your family and then kind of a week with mine.
Not very vacation-like.
We also kind of wrapped in the Indianapolis 500 as an event, and that was like with college friends, but that's still kind of considered a little bit of a trip, because the difference between your love for Indy 500 and mine made that a trip.
So we had the kids with us, we had all of our responsibilities with us, and we were just someplace else.
Yeah, and we were calling back to the bakery to check in all the time.
That's very much a trip,
so that's not
or a visit, not much of a vacation. Someone in our Echoes of Recovery group said a few weeks ago that they don't call them vacations anymore, they call them Triggerfests.
I like that one.
I love that. So what she said was, you spend money and you spend time and you go and you argue elsewhere with your alcoholic spouse. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, lots of that ring a bell.
Let's talk about the difference in prepping for vacation between you and me. I know I thought prepping for vacation, well, first, there was a lot of work to do to get the work side of things, the actual paycheck work side of things, kind of in a place where I could leave it. But otherwise, I just had to throw, 4 pairs of underwear and 4 t-shirts in a backpack, and I was pretty much good to go. What was getting ready for vacation like for you?
Well, that was a lot different. Back in the drinking days, I was arranging plant, waters, mail collectors, cat watering and food person. Hopefully it could be the same person, but sometimes it couldn't, because you didn't trust everybody to come in our house.
Probably would have been nice if your spouse could have helped with some of that. You also had to pack for 4 kids.
So pack and plan, and then like if you're gone for a week and you don't want to waste money, and being a business owner, self-employed, there wasn't a lot of flush money, so it was like just even to the little things of like planning like what we were eating to get down to things, and also being someone who was very frugal. And again, we owned our own business. We were not flush with money. We packed food for the airport and packed food for the airplane.
Thanks for calling me frugal and not cheap on our first video.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate that. What about the pre-attitudes going in? I mean, I was carefree and loose and drinking pretty heavily the night before vacation.
Yeah, you were usually taking a really long time mowing the yard before him because you kept coming in for beers. So, yeah. You
were a little less carefree, I think.
I was a lot less carefree. I had a lot more anxiety. I had a lot more details to coordinate, and depending on like where we were going, there were certain things that I needed at one place and certain things I didn't need at the other place, because most of this was all within staying with my mom or staying with your parents.
And when you talk about things you're going to need at those places, the thing I was going to need was alcohol.
Yes.
And we had some pretty bad experiences with me and having the right amount of alcohol. I remember one year I decided I didn't want any of those Indiana beers we would get when we got to your mom's house. I wanted some Colorado beer because we are, the home brew, or not home brew, but local brewery capital of the world.
Microbrewery
Whatever.
at the time.
So I took our SUV, the back hatch area of the SUV, and I added one full layer of cases of beer, as though they didn't, it didn't even exist. It just took up this much, and then the whole rest of the area was there for packing. That was one of my brilliant experiences. Do you remember the time and
the time that you had to have the 2 coolers full?
Yeah.
You had the blue one and the red one full because you wanted to be able, because we were making a pit stop to see friends.
Oh yeah,
and
I had to have the friend beer before.
You have your friend beer cold because we used to drive to see my family.
I remember when the kids were hot and tired after 16 hours in the car, and the town over from your mom's had a cheaper liquor store, so I decided to load up for the week and actually piled beer and stuff on the kids.
Yeah,
they had to sit within their laps for the last 30 minutes of the drive. Ugh, I get chills when I think back to that. That was not my best parenting example. And then by far the worst, though, was the time we stayed up all night arguing the night before a trip to my parents when we were flying. And on the way to the airport, I whipped the car around 180-degree turns 3 times, swearing we're not going, and then swearing we are going. And then, I don't know, it was embarrassing. I was intoxicated. It was awful. And still to this day, one of the most traumatic things we've ever put the kids through.
Yeah.
So really, really bad experiences on these Triggerfests. And
that's just before it even starts the vacation.
Yeah. So, the thing that happens with the reason Triggerfest is such a good fit is even now that I'm sober, and even especially in early sobriety, we'd still go to these same places. Turns out our parents are still our parents and they still live in the same place. And unfortunately, going to those places, it's like your brain puts a bookmark in the place and then remembers those same emotions that it had the last time you were there. And so the first few times we went on trips and visits, not vacations, even in sobriety, our brains both still went back to some of the trauma, and certainly you way more than me, the trauma that had been experienced when I was intoxicated on these trips.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yep.
And I know I viewed these trips, or I still thought of them as vacations, as opportunities for carefree sex and staying up as late as we wanted and drinking alcohol, and for you it was the opposite. You were, I drink and get short-tempered and insult you and insult the kids, and then have the nerve to blame you because you weren't fun and loose on vacation.
Yeah, and I still had the responsibilities of making. Sure, we had family help, but I had to make sure the kids were eating decent, making sure they were getting bathed, checking in with teeth brushing.
That wasn't high on my priority list.
Right, and because with your family, there's a 2-hour time difference, so they were like excited and being up with their cousins, and when it was 6 o'clock on our bodies, it was 8 o'clock there. So then I had that like weird feeling of like, should I get up? And and then if we had stayed up arguing, and it was just a mess.
I think vacations, whether they are true vacations to some other place or just going to visit family, I think they're a lot more fun now. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think the key, if you resonate, if you really understand what we're talking about when we're talking about these Triggerfests, the key to getting to a place where it is better in the long term is to accept a place where it's just nothing more than peaceful and calm in the short term. You can't go right straight from trauma to, jubilant excitement. You've got to make a stop for several years at just peace and calm. And so that's our wish for them, huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah, sobriety doesn't fix anything, but it sure is a prerequisite. If you'd like to hear more of our opinionated ramblings, check out our Untoxicated podcast.
Yeah, but if you're more of the reading type, please go to soberandunashamed.com.
And if you're picking up what we're laying down, you might be ready to find your tribe. Check out shoutsobriety.org or echoesofrecovery.org. We get what you're going through. You've got this, and we've got you.